Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of News You Can Use Rebooted. I'm Thera Martin, host of the program. Glad to be with you today, and we've got a special program today. Well, actually, I like to think that each and every one of our programs are special, but this one, when I see all the violence that continues to unfold on the streets of Philadelphia and Chester and Delaware and all across the country, we got some issues with violence. I do believe that violence is the current pandemic that we need to be addressing. And so when you meet someone or someone comes into your life that has a testimony that says you can go from being in a bad situation and having to do time because maybe you made a bad choice or were in the wrong place at the wrong time. You do that time and you come back out and you can make your life better. You can become a positive, contributing member of society. And so that's what this program is really about today. We're going to be talking with a young man by the name of Shariff Ingram. He has a testimony. Trust me. We'll be right back. And we're back. Here we go. Shariff Ingram is here. I thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. This has been like a little process because I first met you through my daughter, and that was almost 2 years ago now.
Almost 3 years ago, actually.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And you were featured in a book that my dear professor and friend, Patrice Gaines, was a part of. So you're in a book and all of that, but we'll get to that in a minute. Everything wasn't so easy and rosy and smooth at the earlier part of your young life. You went away at the age of 15. You were incarcerated. Tell a little bit of your story.
Yeah, so I was incarcerated at, age 15. So I grew up in Philadelphia, Southwest Philly, Woodland Avenue area. And, like many youth today, growing up in poverty, single parent home. My father died when I was 8 or 9 years old. And my mother primarily raised me. And, I guess, kind of succumbed to my environment, the influences in my environment, more so the influences in my home. And I got caught up in the streets at a young age, and I was involved in a drug-related homicide when I was 15. So I was selling drugs for an individual from my neighborhood. He was 24 at the time. Well, when I first started selling drugs for him, I was 14, he was 23. And we had a dispute that led to him and some other individuals shooting at me, and that unfortunately led to his death. I was charged with first-degree murder at 15, and at 16 was sentenced to life without any possibility of parole.
Now, for the young people who might be watching this show, and I want to believe that prayerfully some grandparents like me or parents, aunts and uncles who got good sense like me, and gather your young people around. Listen to this young man's testimony. He's got a testimony to give. This changed your life.
Absolutely. I always tell people that, prison is an environment that's, it's not designed to make you better. It's not a place that's designed to rehabilitate you. And, it's like you have to have a desire to want growth and development yourself despite the environment. And I was just one of those that I was blessed to, seek that growth and development despite the fact that I was told I would never come home. And, I was fortunate to always give credit to the older prisoners that was in there. They the ones that, to help motivate me and, seeing, I succumbed to the negative influences in society, but when I got in prison, I was more so attracted to the, I gravitated more towards the positive influences. I knew that, I may be here for the rest of my life, and I was determined to survive it and to survive it as well as thrive in that environment. So when I got there, I looked at the older heads, those that I seen that had 20, 25, 30 years in, that seemed to be thriving and surviving, and I more so, took to them than the negative influences and things within the prison.
I can't imagine the challenges. 23 years.
23 years.
That you were away from home. Were you still in Pennsylvania, or were you outside of Pennsylvania?
I was always in Pennsylvania. The way the federal system usually send you from state to state. The way the state system work in PA, you know, we stay within Pennsylvania, but I was in Albion, which is near Erie, PA, so that was like 8 hours away. So I was far at times. I started off at Greater Ford. All of us come through Greater Ford. That was the first state prison that I was at. And from Greater Ford, I went to Camp Hill, which was the you know, the jail that you go to get classified to your home facility.
Did you ever hear of Omar Askia Ali? He was at Graterford.
I did. I did some time with his, is that's the one, his last name, Sistrunk?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I did some time with both of his sons, Hassan and Hassan and I forgot the other one name, but I did time with both of his sons. I never met him, but I did do time with both of his sons. I was sorry to hear that he
succumbed after all those years of being incarcerated, and I was hoping and praying for him that he would have a testimony like yours and come home free one day.
And you have a lot of people in there like that that just don't get the shot. You know, it's this portrayal of prisoners and, you know, those that succumb to the environments that they grew up in, and then they get in there and it's this, you know, image that society portray of animals and this and that. But, you know, you have a lot of people in there, like men in there, women as well, that, you know, if given opportunity, they can do great things in solving a lot of the problems out here in society, you know, because we once was part of those problems. So who better to understand how to solve those problems than the people who once was a part of that, you know, who understand it, you know.
So give us a bit of a realistic look at what prison life can be like. Because again, I'm hoping that grandmothers and grandfathers and people with good sense are gathering your young folks around the cable TV, Channel 56 for LaSalle TV, Verizon Fios Channel 36, to learn something about the reality of prison and understand it's a place you do not want to go. So you get up in the morning, give us what a day would look like when you were incarcerated.
Pretty much, you know, I was at close to maybe half of the state prisons. We have close to maybe 28 state prisons. I was at maybe 13 or 14 of them. Most of them are pretty much the same. Count is around 6 in the morning. You know, you got to wake up, stand for count. Count clear around 6:40, 6:45. They call breakfast. You go to breakfast. Around 8 o'clock after main line clear, you know, you got programs, gym passes.
When it's time for meals, whether that's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, it's not like you're going to McDonald's. It's not like you're going to a steakhouse somewhere where you can sit with the menu and say, well, I think I'll have. You're going to eat what they give you, or you're going to be hungry.
Exactly. You know, the food is, you know, it's not the best. Obviously, it got worse over the years. The portions became smaller. The quality of it, you know, it's bad. It's not something that, you know, you would choose to eat.
Do inmates get to come out of their cells a certain amount of time every day to exercise, get some fresh air?
It used to be. I came home when COVID. I mean, they still come out, but it changed a lot now. Prison got a lot worse and more restrictive since I left, and they started doing it because of COVID, and they used that as a way to gain more control of the prisoners, to lock the prisons down more. You don't eat. They closed all of the child halls throughout all of the prisons, so they feed you in your cell. That was a time that you could get out, get some air, walk to the child hall, see people. All of the blocks used to go to the yards together. You could play handball, basketball, football. You know, now you only go with a few people in your block. You don't see the other blocks and things like that. So it's real constricted now than how it was when I came up. When I came up, you had yard 3 times a day, in the morning, afternoon, and then at night during the summer when the days are longer. And in some prisons that had the block yards, you would still have it at night, even in the wintertime. But now a lot of that changed where, you know, a lot of people, I still get a lot of calls from people that's in there. Obviously, I grew up with a lot of these guys, and you still have people that's in there doing life for, you know, a lot of time. And, you know, it's become worse, the conditions for a lot of the men and the women in there.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I can only imagine. We're talking with Shariff Ingram, my special guest today on this edition of News You Can Use Rebooted. And the purpose is to do a couple of things. We want to shine the light again on the violence in our city and how we can try to encourage people to stop it, stop the nonsense, stop the craziness, to deter them from getting involved in anything that would end you up being locked up or incarcerated. And that's what we're trying to do. And to tell a story of hope and a future that can turn around, because yours certainly did. In just a minute, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to find out about some of the great things that Shariff has going on in 2023. His life has been turned around. He is a blessing to others, and he has been blessed. And I think all of that is good. And so we'll come back and continue this story in just a moment. Stay with us right here at News You Can Use at LaSalle TV 56 and Verizon Fios Channel 36. We'll be back.
Meet Norm. He lives with anxiety, but with the help of this latest innovation from Be Normal, he can be normal, just like everyone else. With the swipe of a finger, you can project happiness, confidence, machismo. Why settle for being real when you can be normal? The Normal Maker, new from Be Normal. This item doesn't really work because there's no such thing as normal. We're all different. What we like, how our brains work. In fact, 1 in 5 of us live with mental illness. Don't filter who you are. Start by talking to someone you trust. And remember, there is no normal.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What to expect when you're expecting a teenager.
Today we're talking about how to wake up your teen, and this works literally every time.
Good kisses. Good kisses. You heard how loud
I heard. It wasn't you. Yeah. It was the...
Is that bacon?
You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
What if one day you went to your secret hiding place and instead of what you came for, you found this? What would you do? The truth is, all drug use comes with risk. Before drugs take their toll on you and your family, know that there is help. You can quit. If you or someone you love is struggling with drug use, call 1-800-662-HELP for 24-hour free and confidential information and treatment referral, or go to samhsa.gov/knowtherisks.
We are back, and my very special guest on this edition of News You Can Use Rebooted is Mr. Shariff Ingram. I'm so glad that you're with me today. I remember when my daughter first told me about you and some of your testimony, and I was like, wow. And then my dear friend Patrice Gaines was in the midst of writing a book, and she needed someone like you to help tell your story, to be a part of this book, and you were down with it, and all of that happened, so all of that was good. You gave a part of your story at the beginning of the show, and the fact that you went away, got incarcerated at the age of 15, did 23 years, which is such a long time, but you came out, and from everything I can see, you were strong and determined, which has to be. It's the only way you could have made it through all of that, I would imagine. But fast forward to finding out that you could come home. What was that like?
To me, it was surreal. I honestly didn't know. I didn't want to get my hopes up too high,
Right.
you know. So I wasn't sure, you know, whether I would be one of the ones that they would let go. You know, of course, growing up in that environment, everybody, you know, survived in different ways, and in some ways that we had to survive in there, you know, kind of hurt some of us when it came time to come home, as far as misconducts and, you know, things of that nature. So, you know, it was a struggle. It was a little harder for me to get out than some. Some they let right out. You know, with me, I was denied parole my first time, and then they gave me a year hit. So I came back around the next year, and they did let me go. So, I mean, it was surreal.
And your family was ecstatic about it.
Yeah, they were. You know, it was surreal to everybody. It's still surreal.
Were
know.
many of your loved ones still here?
Yes, my mom. I was just with my mom yesterday, actually. I was with a lot of my family yesterday, actually. We was talking about this. You know, my mother came to get me, my mother, my sister, one of my uncles, and my mother, my sister, my cousin, and my mom boyfriend, they came to pick me up. And fortunately, a lot of my family was still around.
That's a
Most importantly, my mother and my sister.
Yes. And so when you came out, you got all your rules, your parole or probation rules or whatever you can do and can't do, and got to get a job. Yeah. How did that go?
Well, I was blessed to already have a job, you know, lined up. My sister boyfriend was a foreman at a company based out of Jersey called Pearson that did highway, concrete paving, mainly highway. So he brought me in, and I didn't know nothing about construction or none of that. And I just learned and watched and just
And the funny part of the story, during commercial break, we were talking that Shariff works on bridges. You help build.
Now I do bridges.
Bridges now.
Yes.
And you talked about the fact that when you first started, first of all, not having the experience, but also you weren't too cool about heights. You didn't like heights.
Yeah, I was always scared of heights, and I don't know how to swim. So, you know, the first time I had to put a harness on and go up 30, 40 feet in the air, you know, something you had to adapt to.
I would have been sweating bullets, man.
I looked at all of that as a, you know, part of me maintaining out here and making it out here, having employment that's, you know, helping me to be comfortable. And that was one less worry that I had to worry about, you know, paying bills. And
But you got a good job, not just a job, because a lot of people that I know, when they're coming out of incarceration, I say that I know because for 13 years I taught life skills and job readiness prison classes at a women's prison in the heart of North Philadelphia, 17th and Cambria. 13 years I did that. I can't believe it, and I loved it every time I went in there. Yeah. My ladies were very special to me, and I know I was special to them too. But the challenge was, and part of my job was, I'm supposed to help these ladies get jobs. And having a record, and some of my ladies who had been incarcerated for a good length of time, when they got out, it was like coming to a whole new world. They didn't know how to use a cell phone. They didn't know about the internet. So a lot of things, and they were scared. They were nervous. A car horn would beep and they would jump, you know. And so it was hard. It was hard to get job placement in decent jobs, making a decent wage. I would get my ladies jobs, but it was the fast food restaurants, the smaller amounts of money. But to get to the level that you are, that's what I'm sure many people who are coming out of incarceration, people who are never incarcerated, would love to be in your seat today.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, like, this not the norm. Always, you know, try to make that known that people coming out of prison is not the norm. I was given a lot of opportunities that I just took advantage of. I was blessed and fortunate to be given opportunities that a lot of people coming out of prison don't have. You know, sort of like, for example, when I got laid off, the first company I was with, Pearson, we got laid off that winter, and I started applying for jobs. I didn't know if they would call me back. Walmart hired me, then they fired me when my background came back. A company, True Green, a lawn fertilization company, they hired me and then fired me when it was hard to find a job. So it's like what I'm doing, it's almost like I don't have any choice but to do this type of hard work to make good money, because there's no other real options for me, you know. And even this option, I'm the only black person in the bridge division in my company, you know, and it's a fairly big bridge division. You have at least 10, maybe more, 12 or so crews, meaning a foreman with his crew that's working on bridges at any given time. And I've been there almost 3 years this May, and there's no other black people in the bridge division, so that's a struggle within itself. Then I work with people, they don't know my background, they don't know my story. And, you know, so it's a lot of struggles. Even.
And the way I feel, everybody don't need to know your story.
Exactly.
Which is not to say that you want to pretend or be fake, but like, so one of the hurdles for my ladies with the going out for the jobs and everything, was always the question would come up, do I tell the truth, Miss Thera? Do I put my background? And I said, yeah, put it down, because if they go do the background, it's going to come up. So, you know, put it out there from the beginning. But it's hard. It's really hard.
It is. It's very difficult. You know, with people coming home with a record in general, like it's a lot of obstacles that I face coming home, and it's a lot of obstacles that I continue to face. I just had to determine and continue to have the determination to work through them. That whatever obstacles I have out here are not worse than the obstacles in there. So my worst day out here is better than my best day. All of them 23 years in there. You know, whatever my best day was throughout those 23 years, you know, it's no comparison. So you know, it's like, but what I always try to tell people is that when, you know, you got to understand that prison is an environment that destroys people in so many ways, like physically, mentally, psychologically. And I don't want people to see me and think that, oh, well, if I came home this way while other people weren't able to come home and be successful and so-called thrive, because everybody don't have the opportunities that I had.
Opportunities, mindset, attitude, it's a lot mixed together to make for success.
I mean, even being in there, everybody didn't have the people that I had to help guide me and mentor me, and everybody didn't have that. So it's just so many things that played a role in me coming out here and being able to, you know, to make it. And it's still a struggle. I mean, I'm still adapting.
Man, before we run out of time, and I don't know how much time we have left. I know my producer is going to let me know in just a second. But I know you're part of the Youth Sentencing Reentry Project. We got to talk about them for a few minutes. You work for them part-time.
Yes, so they started, what's called a Youth Sentencing Reentry Project. Is a group based out of Philadelphia that actually helped get me home. So they started YSRP, two women, Joanne Visor and Lauren Fine, in regards to children, fighting against the incarceration of children, charging them as adult. And at the forefront of that back then was children sentenced to life without parole. So they were the ones who helped in my mitigation and prepared my mitigation and worked alongside my attorney. So when I came home, they wanted to start a speakers bureau. They would get a lot of requests from organizations, media, news outlets, schools, different places, wanting people to come and speak, to learn about YSRP. So they thought that I would be a good fit to start a speakers bureau. So I would field all of the requests. So far, I've been the one doing all of the speaking, but the goal is to get other people, other juvenile lifers. No, I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity. Okay. So, you know, it's just trying to end the practice of placing children in an adult system, charging them as adults and treating them as adults. We believe that children should be treated as children and treated in a system that will focus on rehabilitating them and healing them and growing to be productive members of society. And along with that, trying to change the narrative and the stigma of children that, you know, you better than your worst mistake. A lot of these children out here that's doing a lot of these shootings and killings, you know, you have to understand like the reason behind it. Incarcerating them is not solving the problem. Right. I spent 23 years in prison supposedly to make society safer, and my community is no safer than when I left. In fact, it's more dangerous. I don't feel safe in my neighborhood when I go around there. So, you know, the solution is not to incarcerate and to lock people away for life. That's not solving anything. It's making people come home and continue to be, you know, the recidivism rate is over 70% of those within the first 4 years of returning back to society. So, you know, it's other solutions that we need to look at in regards to solving these problems in society, because, you know, incarceration obviously is not working. You know, look at the city of Philadelphia and what's going on. You know, the murder rate is climbing year after year, and we're breaking records.
If there were a message that you could give to some of the young boys out here on the street right now, I want you to look in that camera right there, camera 2, and say what you think might stir them up to think twice before they do something stupid.
I mean, you know, it's kind of hard to tell youth to change when they're in an environment that don't allow them to change, you know, in some cases. But I would just say, you know, be smart and, you know, understand that, you know, one bad decision can change your life forever. And there's nothing that you can really do to change it. I was fortunate and blessed to be here. I got a lot of people that I come up with in the penitentiaries that they not here. Either they didn't survive it, they was killed in there or died in there, whatever the case may be. Some that may have survived it in the sense that they home, but they'll never be the same. You know, them places destroyed them. And it's just like when, you know, everyone that get in there, they wish they could take back and do it over again. So, you know, be one of those to, you know, learn from the examples of those who went through it and hopefully avoid it, you know, and understand that, you know, we have options. A lot of times we believe that we don't have options, and we do have options. You know, and surround yourself with those that will help you explore and understand those options, not those that will, you know, have you in a situation that you will spend your whole life regretting and you may not never be able to get out of it.
All right, real talk. There you have it from Shariff Ingram. I thank you so much for coming. And if people wanted to reach out to Youth Sentencing Reentry Project to invite you or some of the other speakers on your Speakers Bureau to come to their church, to their recreation center, to their school, how can they be in touch?
You can go on the website, ysrp.org, and you can find my contact information under Speakers Bureau Coordinator. You'll see my photo and email and phone number on there.
Okay.
So you can contact me that way. And yeah.
All right, you're a blessing.
Thank you.
I appreciate you for coming.
I appreciate you having me.
Get ready to close out on this edition of News You Can Use. I want to remind people that we are in a hot political cycle, and I want you to know that you can come to Center in the Park on March the 29th at 10 a.m. They're doing a Democratic Mayoral's Candidates Forum there. I will be the moderator for that Candidates Forum. That's at 10 a.m. on March 29th, Center in the Park, which is based right here in the heart of Germantown. You can look it up. You will find it, Center in the Park. Also want to remind folks that if you want to register to vote, if you want to know more about the political candidates who are running, you can log on at www.vote.phila.gov. Real simple, easy website to go to. It's the City of Philadelphia Commissioner's website. And I want to tell you the candidates that are asking for your votes for mayor. We're going to have our 100th mayor sworn in the City of Philadelphia in January of 2024. And those that are running on the Democratic side, Alan Dom, you got James DeLeon, you got Jeff Brown, you got Rebecca Reinhardt, you have Sherelle Parker, you got Derek Green, Helen Gim, Maria Quinones Sanchez, Almond Brown, David O, who's a Republican, and you have Warren Bloom. All total, there are 14 mayoral candidates running. Got several independent candidates in that mix, so check it out. Whatever you do, make sure that you vote on Election Day, May 16th. That's it from me. We're out. Have a great day.